Welcome back to the final log of our deep dive down the well. We now know how to navigate the road and the trail. Now we pull back the curtain on the raw data, the history, and the hidden biology of the island's ultimate icon. This is part 3, the ghost of the Avalon. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Well. If you're new here, this is a space built for curious minds, where my own obsessive rabbit holes collide with artificial intelligence to pull back the layers on topics we usually take for granted. Before we jump into the data today, a quick boundary marker. I use AI models to help synthesize complex research and run these scenarios. But AI is a tool for exploration, not absolute truth. Always use your own critical thinking and do your own research. And please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere, including in the comments section down below. Now, let's head down the well. So, after receiving the vehicle protocols and the hiking protocols, I wondered how many moose are there in Newfoundland and when were they brought into the province? This is one of the most surprising twists in the island's history. Moose are not native to Newfoundland. Despite being the ultimate iconic symbol of the province today, they were intentionally introduced by humans a little over a century ago. Here is the historical data and the current population breakdown. 1. The introduction. Between 1878 and 1904, there were actually 2 separate introductions to stock the island's interior with a new food source for mining and forestry workers, and to attract rail-traveling sport hunters. 1878, Gander Bay. 2 moose were released, but this tiny initial group didn't successfully establish a large permanent population. 1904, Howley. This is the moment that changed everything. Just 4 moose, 2 bulls and 2 cows, were brought by train from the Miramichi Woods of New Brunswick and released near the community of Howley. 2. The current population, approximately 110 to 120,000. Every single one of the massive moose roaming the island today is a direct descendant of those original 4 introduced in 1904. Because Newfoundland lacks an apex predator capable of controlling them, like a robust timber wolf pack, and because the landscape is a paradise of endless boreal forest and dense bogs, those 4 animals multiplied at an explosive rate. Today, there are an estimated 110 to 120,000 moose on the island. This represents the highest population density of moose in North America. To put that in perspective, the government issues nearly 28,000 hunting licenses annually just to keep the population stable and protect the forest ecosystem from being completely overbrowsed. So then I asked, where is the largest concentration of moose in my area right now? In your area, the Avalon Peninsula, there is currently an extremely high concentration of moose. The provincial government has even designated this territory as a special high-risk zone, the Avalon Moose Reduction Zone, Zone 100. Due to deforestation for construction, moose are left with narrow protective strips of trees right along the highways, which forces them to constantly step onto the roadway in search of food and salt. The most dangerous sections and hotspots in your area. Route 10, Southern Shore Highway. One of the most critical sections on the Avalon right now. Specifically, the segments in the Aquafort and Fairyland areas have a tragic history of severe accidents. Route 20, Torbay Road Bypass, also known as Kevin Parsons Highway. Moose regularly emerge onto it from the thick brush between Torbay, Logie Bay, and St. John's, especially in low-lying sections. The interchange of Route 1 Trans-Canada Highway and Peacekeepers Way Route 2, a major interchange on the outskirts of St. John's. On Peacekeeper's Way, moose accidents happen regularly due to high traffic speeds and poor shoulder visibility on the hilly terrain. Route 73, New Harbour Barrens, and the Trans-Canada Highway section near Whitburn, Holyrood. A bit further west on the Avalon, but these barrens lead in the number of collisions. Here, animals come out into open spaces in whole groups. So then I asked, we've already discussed when moose come out in the run of a day and also the hotspots. What about seasons? Is there a difference between spring and fall? When are they most active and when are they least active? And do they ever attack humans? The seasonal calendar completely dictates how and why a moose moves. Their activity levels form a massive roller coaster throughout the year. The absolute peak, late fall, September and October. This is the rutting season, mating season. Hormones are at an all-time high. Large bulls are completely blind to danger, constantly on the move, looking for mates, and are incredibly aggressive. This is statistically the most lethal time of year for moose vehicle collisions. The secondary spike, late spring, June and July. This is calving season. Mother moose are fiercely protective of their newborns. Additionally, yearling calves are being driven away by their mothers to fend for themselves for the first time, causing confused, inexperienced young moose to wander aimlessly onto highways. The lowest activity, winter, January to March. To conserve energy in deep snow, moose enter a semi-dormant state. They move as little as possible to preserve body heat, though they will still seek out cleared highways, specifically to lick the road salt. Do they attack humans? Yes. Moose absolutely attack humans, and statistically, they attack more people globally per year than bears do. While they are generally peaceful giants who prefer to slip into the woods, they will charge under 3 specific triggers. The autumn rut. In September and October, a bull moose views anything, including a walking human, a barking dog, or a parked car, as a rival or a threat. They will charge with 0 warning. Spring mothers. Walking between a mother and her calf in June or July is a catastrophic mistake. A cow moose will stomp to protect her young. The winter starvation, exhaustion. In deep winter, moose are stressed, cold, and hungry. If a human or a dog gets too close and forces them to exert energy to run away, they may choose to fight instead of flee, using their massive front hooves to stomp. So then I asked, what do they eat and why are they always lurking by the highways? And why do they have to cross the road right in front of a vehicle with headlights? Isn't it better to just wait until it's dark like it is in the woods and then cross when there is no danger? It looks like madness to a human driver, but to a moose, the highway is an irresistible combination of a free buffet and a sensory trap. Here's the biological breakdown of why they lurk by the asphalt and why headlights confuse them. 1. The diet. Salt and saplings. The word moose comes from an Algonquian word meaning eater of twigs. They need massive amounts of woody vegetation daily. Highways require cleared roadsides, which triggers the rapid growth of tender, young, deciduous brush and saplings right in the ditches, creating a permanent, miles-long feeding trough. Even worse, road salt runoff accumulates in roadside puddles and low-lying ditches. To a moose lacking sodium after a long season, these salt licks are a biological necessity. They aren't trying to cross the road. They are actively hanging out where the food and minerals are. 2. The sensory glitch. Blinded by the light. You ask a logical question. Why don't they just wait for the road to be clear? The answer is that a moose has zero concept of what a car or a highway actually is. Moose evolved over millions of years with almost no natural predators on the island, and absolutely nothing in their evolutionary history prepared them for an object moving at 90 kilometers an hour. When bright headlights approach them in the pitch black, their highly sensitive, night-adapted eyes are instantly, completely blinded. They don't see a giant metal machine coming to hit them. They just experience a sudden, terrifying wall of white light. 3. The freeze or flight panic. When blinded and startled, a moose has two primary instincts. The freeze. They stand completely still in the center of the lane, trying to figure out what just happened to their vision. And the blind dash. If the sheer noise and blinding light cause them to panic, they will bolt in whatever direction their head is already pointing, which is often directly across the asphalt, right into your path. They aren't choosing to cross because of your car. They are running blindly to escape a blinding light they don't understand. So naturally, I asked, why do they like salt so much? And why is there salt on the shoulders of a highway? It sounds strange for a woodland giant to have a massive salt craving, but it is a matter of pure survival. Here's why that sodium matters so much to their biology, and how our highway infrastructure unintentionally creates a permanent hazard. 1. The biological craving, the spring flush. In the spring and early summer, a moose's diet shifts entirely to fresh, water-rich plants, twigs, and aquatic vegetation. While this food is packed with energy, it is incredibly high in potassium and water, and dangerously low in sodium. To process all that potassium, a moose's digestive system has to rapidly flush out its body's natural sodium reserves. This leaves them severely sodium deficient. Without salt, their bodies can't properly regulate hydration, nerve function, or muscle growth. They get desperate for it, driving a powerful behavioral phenomenon called sodium drive. 2. Why the salt is on the highway shoulders. This is where human engineering collides with nature. To keep highways like the TCH or the Torbay bypass safe during Newfoundland's brutal winters, dump trucks spread thousands of tons of road salt, sodium chloride, to melt ice. When the snow melts in the spring, all that heavy salt doesn't just disappear. The runoff water carries the dissolved salt directly off the asphalt and into the gravel shoulders, ditches, and low-lying roadside bogs. As the summer sun dries out the road, the water evaporates, leaving behind hyper-concentrated salt licks in the soil and standing puddles right next to the highway. To a moose experiencing intense sodium drive, the highway shoulders are essentially a free, life-saving mineral supplement bar. They will travel kilometers out of their way just to kneel in a ditch and lick the salty mud. And then I wondered, how did they survive the world wars? And where do they go in the winter? Their ability to survive the early 20th century and navigate our brutal winters comes down to the sheer isolation of the Newfoundland interior. 1. Surviving the world wars, the interior sanctuary. When World War I and World War II broke out, the human population of Newfoundland was heavily focused on the coast, the railway lines, and the rapid construction of massive military bases like Gander and Stephenville. Because moose were released into a designated deer preserve near Howley back in 1904, they were completely hidden away in the untouched, dense boreal interior. With local attention and resources, heavily shifted toward the global war efforts, hunting pressure on the island's interior was incredibly low. This quiet isolation provided the perfect window for those original generations of moose to breed completely undisturbed, cementing their population before anyone even fully realized how many there were. 2. The winter strategy. The moose yard glitch. When the heavy winter snow blankets the island, moose completely shift their lifestyle to survive. They don't migrate south. Instead, they move into what biologists call moose yards or yards. Thermal cover. They abandon open barrens and retreat deep into dense, old-growth softwood forest like thick spruce and balsam fir stands. These heavy tree canopies catch the snow before it hits the ground, keeping the snowpack shallower and allowing the moose to walk without floundering. The trees also block the freezing winter winds, acting as natural insulation. Bachelor groups. After the intense aggression of the fall mating season, bulls quickly let bygones be bygones. They gather together in small bachelor groups inside these yards, sharing trails in the snow to save energy. The highway exception. They will stay tucked into these timber pockets for months, surviving entirely on a slow-motion diet of twigs, bark, and fir needles, unless a plowed, salted highway cuts close to their yard. If it does, they will actively step out of the deep snow onto the clear asphalt to travel easily and satisfy their lingering salt cravings. So, after understanding where they go in the wintertime, I also wondered, what about daytime in the summer? So I asked, you've already told me where moose spend the winter, but where do they hang out in the daytime in the summer when we don't see them crossing? In the peak of summer, moose become practically invisible during the day due to intense heat stress. Because of their immense physical bulk, they cannot easily dissipate heat and actually begin suffering from metabolic stress when ambient temperatures exceed just 14 degrees Celsius. To regulate their body temperature, they completely abandon open spaces during daylight hours and retreat deep into dense softwood canopies, low-lying shaded bogs, and thick alder beds where the sun cannot penetrate. They will remain completely stationary for hours, literally bedding down in the cool mud or standing knee-deep in stagnant shaded swamps. They only break cover and move toward the roadsides to feed once the sun completely sets and air temperatures drop. Then my curiosity took me off topic to the airport. So I asked, have moose ever been spotted at airports? Had there ever been moose airplane collisions around the world? Absolutely. In high-density regions like Gander and St. John's, heavy winter snowdrifts accumulate against perimeter security fences, creating natural ramps. Moose simply walk up the snowdrifts, hop the fences, and wander directly onto active runways. Commercial aircraft have been forced to abort landings at the final second due to moose occupying the tarmac. Globally, moose airplane collisions are a recorded reality. In northern regions, aircraft accelerating down runways have struck moose crossing the strip, resulting in catastrophic landing gear failure and severe hull damage. So then I asked, I also heard that Newfoundland has the most moose in the world. Is this true? And if it is, what is the second most moose-dense place in the world? This is a classic piece of wildlife trivia that is partially true, but it depends entirely on how you define the word place. If we are talking about unconnected, isolated islands, then yes, Newfoundland holds the absolute #1 crown. It features the highest island population density of moose on Earth, with parts of the island packing in up to 3 or 4 moose per square kilometer. However, if we look at entire countries and global territories, the data shifts into a fascinating international rivalry. The real-world rankings. Number 1, Sweden, the global champion. When it comes to raw countrywide density, Sweden is the undisputed king of moose. Despite being a relatively small European nation compared to Canada, Sweden maintains a massive summer population of roughly 300,000 to 400,000 moose. Because their landmass is so compact, their nationwide density beats out Canada as a whole. They have so many moose that hunters sustainably harvest around 80 to 100,000 animals every single autumn just to keep the ecosystem from collapsing. Number 2, Norway, the close runner-up. Sitting right next door, Norway takes the number 2 global spot for nationwide density. They hold a population of around 120,000 moose, packed into their dramatic forested valley terrain. Just like Sweden, their density is incredibly high, leading to intense seasonal management. Where Canada fits in. While Canada has the largest total number of moose in the world, with over 830,000 animals spread across the continent, the vastness of the Canadian wilderness dilutes the national average. But if you isolate Newfoundland on its own, its specific density, approximately 1 moose per square kilometer island-wide, easily competes directly with the highest hotspot zones found in the dense forests of central Sweden. So after that, I said, going back to the collisions with vehicles, can you tell me, are there a lot of those annually? There's quite a few on the news every year, but how many are there really? How many people die per year in Newfoundland, and how many moose die? And are there ever situations where a vehicle collides with a group of moose and they all die? The numbers show that the news reports aren't exaggerating. Newfoundland sees an incredible number of moose vehicle collisions every single year, turning the island's highways into some of the most statistically hazardous roads in Canada. Here is the hard mathematical breakdown of the annual reality. 1. Total annual collisions. The province averages between 500 and 600 reported moose collisions every single year. That means on this island, a vehicle hits a moose roughly once every 14 to 16 hours. Over 70% of those happen between May and October, spiking drastically during the twilight hours of June, July, and August. 2. The human fatalities. While roughly 8 to 16% of these accidents result in human injuries ranging from minor to severe, the human death toll averages 1 to 2 fatalities per year. While that number sounds low compared to total crashes, a single moose strike carries an incredibly high injury severity score because the impact happens directly at cabin level. 3. The moose fatalities. The animal's survival rate is almost non-existent. Roughly 89% of moose struck by a vehicle die at the scene or succumb to their injuries shortly after crawling into the woods. Statistically, for every human fatality on the highway, hundreds of moose are killed by oncoming traffic. The group collision reality. Yes, vehicles do absolutely collide with groups of moose, and it often results in multiple fatalities. While moose are generally solitary animals throughout the summer, their behavior completely changes during 2 distinct periods. The winter yard migrations. In heavy snow, groups of moose will travel together down the center of plowed highways or gather on the shoulders to lick road salt. The autumn rut. In September and October, a dominant bull will closely trail a cow or multiple cows. When a car rounds a bend at night, the headlights might only illuminate the first moose. If the driver swerves or hits the first animal, they frequently crash directly into a second or third moose standing completely unseen in the pitch black right behind it. In these rare but catastrophic multi-animal impacts, it is common for the entire group of moose to be killed instantly while the vehicle is completely demolished. And then, of course, I wondered, what happens to the moose? If you hit the moose at a low speed, will he survive? And if I am okay, is there anything I can do to help him? The biological reality for the moose is grim, even in lower speed collisions. Because of their immense mass and fragile leg structure, a low speed impact that leaves the driver completely unharmed can still be fatal for the animal. If a vehicle clips a moose's legs at 40 or 50 kilometers an hour, those long, slender bones often fracture. A wild moose cannot survive in the deep woods with a broken leg. It leads to an inability to forage or escape predators. Even if the animal manages to run off into the brush immediately after the impact due to an adrenaline spike, it will likely succumb to its injuries later. If you are perfectly okay after a low-speed collision, here is exactly what you should and should not do. Do not approach the animal. A wounded, panicked moose is an incredibly dangerous 1,000-pound wild animal. If it is thrashing or trying to stand, its massive hooves can easily crush a human or cause fatal injuries. Stay inside your vehicle or keep a very safe distance. Do not attempt to treat it. There is no first aid a civilian can safely administer to a wild moose on a dark highway. Do report it immediately. Call local police or wildlife management authorities right away. Give them the exact highway coordinates and state clearly if the moose is blocking traffic or lying injured in the ditch. If the animal cannot survive, wildlife officers must be dispatched to humanely end its suffering. Then, naturally, I wanted to know, once a moose dies, what happens to him? Does wildlife protection or the police come, and what happens to him? The cleanup of a 1,000-pound animal on a major highway is a highly coordinated logistical operation involving multiple government departments. It is a strict protocol designed to protect public safety and ensure nothing goes to waste if possible. Here's exactly what happens from the moment the collision is reported. Step 1. Securing the scene, RCMP or RNC. The first to arrive are almost always the police, either the Royal Canadian Mounted Police or the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary. Their primary job is to secure the scene, assist any injured humans, and pull the massive carcass off the driving lanes onto the shoulder using ropes or vehicles so it doesn't cause a secondary accident. Step 2. The removal. Department of Transportation or Wildlife. Once the scene is safe, dispatch calls in the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. Crew trucks equipped with hydraulic lifts or winches are sent out to physically load the heavy carcass onto a flatbed. Step 3. The two paths, the food program versus the pit. What happens to the body depends entirely on the condition of the meat and the time of year. The Social Services Meat Program, the ideal outcome. If the collision happens during a cool night and the carcass is intact enough that the meat hasn't spoiled, wildlife enforcement officers coordinate a salvage operation. The moose is quickly transported to a licensed butcher, processed, and the meat is distributed to local charities, food banks, and low-income families through provincial social services programs. The wildlife offal pits, the reality for spoiled meat. If the impact completely mangles the animal, or if the carcass sits in the hot summer sun for hours before discovery, the meat is deemed unsafe for human consumption. In these cases, transportation crews haul the carcass to designated, secure wilderness offal pits away from the highway. These deep burial sites prevent the decomposing bodies from attracting bears, coyotes, and bald eagles directly back toward the roadside ditches. So then I said, I heard someone say that if a moose is injured, the authorities come in and shoot him. Is that true? If the moose is injured, I understand from what you said that nobody is going to take him to the vet and make him better. But do they actually shoot him, or do they euthanize him in a more humane way? Yes, it is entirely true. When a moose is severely injured in a highway collision, conservation officers or the police will euthanize the animal on the spot using a firearm. While the phrase shooting the animal sounds harsh or primitive to our ears, according to the American Veterinary Medical Association and the Canadian Council on Animal Care, a properly placed gunshot to the head is actually considered the most humane, rapid method of field euthanasia available for large wildlife. The myth of the lethal injection. People often wonder why officers don't use chemical injections like a veterinarian uses to put a domestic dog or cat to sleep. In a wilderness or roadside scenario, chemical euthanasia is completely unviable for two major reasons. The capture stress. To deliver an intravenous chemical injection, a team would have to physically restrain a terrified, thrashing, 1,000-pound wild animal, or wait for a tranquilizer dart to take effect. This causes massive, agonizing psychological panic and physical stress to the moose, needlessly prolonging its suffering. The environmental chain poisoning. Chemical barbiturates remain highly concentrated in the animal's tissues long after death. If that carcass is moved to a wildlife pit or left in the woods, any scavenging eagles, coyotes, foxes, or bears that feed on it will be lethally poisoned. Furthermore, it completely ruins any chance of salvageable meat going to local food sharing programs. A high-caliber firearm, handled by a trained professional, instantly destroys the central nervous system. The animal loses consciousness in a millisecond, far faster than pain signals can travel to the brain. It is instant, clinical, and completely eliminates further suffering. After that, I wondered, how long do they live, and do they hide to die? Do they know they are dying? What does science actually know about this? In the wild, a healthy moose has an average lifespan of 10 to 12 years. When it comes to their final hours, science confirms that the phenomenon of hiding to die is real, well documented, and entirely driven by neurological and evolutionary triggers. Here is what wildlife biology and animal behaviorists have mapped out about a moose's final moments. 1. Cognitive limits. Do they know it's the end? Science has found no evidence that ungulates, hoofed mammals like moose and deer, possess the abstract cognitive capacity to understand their own mortality. They do not have a concept of death the way humans or even highly complex social animals like elephants and cetaceans, whales, dolphins do. They don't look back on life or realize their time is up. 2. The sickness behavior trigger. What they do experience is a severe, scientifically categorized phenomenon called sickness behavior. When a moose is dying from old age, starvation, or internal injuries from a vehicle strike, its immune system or nervous system floods the body with proteins called cytokines. These proteins flag the brain to completely shut down energy expenditure. The animal experiences profound lethargy, a total loss of appetite, and a drastic drop in body temperature. 3. The blind instinct to seclude. Because they are physically crashing, a raw, hardwired evolutionary circuit takes over. In the wild, a weak animal is targeted by predators instantly. To counter this, their instincts command them to seek out dense, cover-like thick softwood blowdowns, steep ravines, or heavy brush. Biologists note they aren't looking for a peaceful place to die. They are executing a primal defense mechanism to hide their scent and silhouette from predators while they are vulnerable. Because they lack the energy to move back out, they go into shock, slip into unconsciousness, and pass away in the very hiding spots that kept them safe from scavengers in their final hours. Then I asked, who are the moose's predators, and to whom is a moose a predator? This question highlights the massive ecological disruption of the island's ecosystem. To answer the second part first, a moose is a predator to absolutely no one. They are strict, obligate herbivores, vegetarians. They possess no hunting instincts, and their digestive systems are strictly designed to process plant matter. Their only victims are thousands of pounds of balsam fir saplings, birch twigs, and roadside weeds. When it comes to who hunts them, the answer depends entirely on geography. 1. The mainland reality. Wolves and grizzly bears. Across continental North America and Europe, healthy adult moose face significant pressure from apex predators. Packs of timber wolves are their primary natural threat, utilizing deep winter snowpacks to wear down a moose over kilometers. Additionally, grizzly bears and cougars are highly effective predators, especially in the spring when targeting vulnerable calves. 2. The Newfoundland isolation anomaly. This is why the island's moose population exploded so aggressively. Newfoundland moose have virtually no apex natural predators. The extinct wolf. The Newfoundland wolf, the island's only true native pack hunter capable of reliably taking down an adult moose, was completely hunted to extinction by humans around 1930. The local black bear. The island does have a robust population of native Newfoundland black bears, which are genetically larger and more predatory than their mainland cousins. However, they predominantly prey on newborn moose calves during the spring calving season. Once a moose reaches adulthood, a black bear will rarely risk a face full of heavy hooves unless the moose is already dying or trapped in deep snow. The coyote. Since arriving on the island across the ice in the late 1980s, coyotes will occasionally pack up to hunt calves or sick adults, but they cannot effectively control a population of 110,000 giants. The apex replacement. Because nature lacks a steering wheel on the island, humans are the primary apex predators of moose in Newfoundland. Between regulated annual hunting seasons, which harvest roughly 22,000 moose a year, and vehicle front bumpers, human activity is the only force currently keeping the population from completely decimating the province's forest regeneration. Next, I wondered, Do moose drink water? Silly question, everybody needs water. But we never stop to think, do they drink fresh water? Do they drink salt water? And do they have a preferable body of water they like to drink out of? It is not a silly question at all. While we constantly focus on what they eat or how they cross roads, we rarely look at their actual hydration mechanics. A full-grown moose requires an incredible 15 to 30 liters of water every single day to keep their massive digestive systems moving. How and where they get that fluid is a fascinating blend of evolutionary design and behavioral quirks. 1. The freshwater imperative: no salt water. Moose are strict freshwater drinkers. Their bodies cannot process ocean salt water. Even though they live on an island surrounded by the North Atlantic and are frequently spotted swimming across saltwater bays, tickles, or coastal inlets to get to nearby islands, they will never drink from the sea. Drinking salt water would rapidly dehydrate them, causing systemic organ failure. 2. The preferential body of water: shallow wetlands. If a moose has a choice, it will bypass a roaring, crystal-clear river and head straight for shallow, stagnant marshes, bogs, beaver ponds, and slow-moving wetland edges. The structural glitch. Because a moose has an incredibly long neck but very short front legs relative to its height, bending down to drink straight from a flat riverbank requires them to awkwardly spread their front legs wide apart or literally drop to their knees. The shallow solution. Wading deep into a soft, shallow bog or lake allows them to naturally bring the water level closer to their mouth without the awkward biomechanical strain of bending down. 3. The soup advantage. Food and drink combined, their love for shallow lakes is also a massive double win for their diet. In the summer, moose are highly proficient sleepers and divers. They can drop 20 feet underwater and close their nostrils using specialized muscle flaps to pull up nutrient-rich aquatic plants like pondweed and water lilies. These plants contain up to 50 to 500 times more sodium than land plants. By hanging out in shallow ponds, they are drinking fresh water and eating high-sodium soup at the exact same time. 4. The highway ditch exception. This brings us right back to the highway hazard. When winter snow melts, the runoff traps road salt in stagnant roadside puddles. To a moose, those brackish, salty, muddy pools are a dream come true. They aren't drinking it for standard hydration. They drink it as a concentrated mineral shot to feed their intense sodium drive. Then my curious mind took me to the next question. Since they mate every year, they clearly don't mate for life like penguins or swans, right? Correct. Moose do not form lifelong bonds, and their mating strategy is completely devoid of domestic partnership. They operate on a system of intense, short-term competition. Once the breeding season wraps up in late October, the male and female part ways forever. Here is how the scientific reality of the moose mating cycle breaks down. 1. Harem breeders versus transient courters. Unlike swans who invest in lifelong co-parenting, a bull moose has one goal during the autumn rut: to pass on his genes to as many cows as possible. Depending on his size and dominance, a bull will employ one of two strategies. The harem strategy. A dominant, heavy-antlered bull will actively herd a harem of several females into one territory, aggressively defending them from all rivals. The transient strategy. Younger or smaller bulls will travel kilometers a day, moving from one female to another, mating, and immediately moving on to find the next receptive cow. 2. The zero investment father. A bull moose provides absolutely no parental care, protection, or resources to the female or the future calf. His involvement begins and ends with fertilization. Once the rut is over, his testosterone levels crash, his massive antlers fall off to conserve energy, and he retreats into a winter yard with other males to focus entirely on caloric survival. The cow is left to navigate the grueling winter, pregnancy, and spring calving completely solo. 3. The highway danger connection. This lack of lifelong bonding is precisely why the highways become so deadly in September and October. Because they aren't settled down in a fixed territory with a single partner, bulls are in a constant, frantic state of motion. They are traversing massive distances across the island looking for new cows, blindly charging through forests, over barrens, and directly across multi-lane highways like the Trans-Canada Highway without a single thought for oncoming traffic. So, of course, I wanted to know, how long is a moose pregnancy, and does the mother abandon the calf once it's ready to go on its own? A moose pregnancy lasts roughly 230 to 240 days, just under 8 months. A cow that mates during the peak of the rut in late September or October will give birth in late May or early June of the following year, usually delivering a single calf or twins if food sources were abundant. When it comes to independence, the mother does not subtly drift away. Instead, the separation is sudden, aggressive, and entirely driven by biological necessity. Here's how the transition from protected calf to solo survivor unfolds. 1. The year of absolute devotion. For the first 12 months of its life, a moose calf is utterly dependent on its mother. The cow is famously fierce during this period, willing to stomp a black bear to death to protect her young. The calf stays glued to her side through the summer, follows her into the dense moose yards for the winter, and learns exactly where to find the best twigs and roadside salt licks. 2. The brutal break. The 12-month eviction. The eviction happens precisely 1 year later, in May or June, when the mother is getting ready to give birth to her next calf. Suddenly, her hormones shift. The yearling calf, now a large, confused teenager, attempts to approach its mother as it always has, but instead of warmth, the mother turns on it aggressively. She will lower her head, flatten her ears, and actively charge, kick, and chase her own yearling away. 3. The yearling glitch on the highway. This forced eviction is not cruelty, it is survival. The mother cannot physically protect and feed a newborn while a massive, resource-heavy yearling is draining her territory. Science tracks this specific period as a massive spike in highway hazards. These newly evicted yearlings are completely heartbroken, confused, and lacking any real survival experience. They wander aimlessly through the woods, crying out for their mothers, and frequently stumble straight out of the brush and onto highway shoulders in June and July. They are the clumsy, unpredictable teenagers of the woods, and their sudden isolation explains Why drivers see so many small, solitary moose near the ditches at the start of summer. So then I asked, so moose are not social animals like penguins? They're not social like humans? They are not communal? They are solitary? Exactly. Moose are strictly solitary animals. They do not form packs, they do not travel in herds, and they have absolutely no communal social structure. Unlike penguins or wolves, who rely on a community to survive, a moose is built to navigate the world completely alone. Here is the scientific reality of their isolation. Independent survival. From the moment a yearling is evicted by its mother, it will spend roughly 99% of its life entirely in its own company. They don't look for companionship, they don't play, and they don't protect one another. A moose views another moose not as a friend, but as a competitor for food or a temporary means to reproduce. The only exceptions, the only times you will ever see moose together, are driven purely by survival, not socializing. Mother and calf, a strictly functional 12-month bond for growth and protection. The autumn rut, a chaotic, high-stress window of a few weeks where they tolerate each other just long enough to mate. Winter yards. When the snow gets too deep, they will tolerate being in the same small forest pocket simply because sharing broken trails saves precious metabolic energy. It's a marriage of convenience, not a social gathering. To a driver, this solitary nature makes them even more unpredictable. Because they don't move in an organized herd, you will never see a structured line of them crossing the road. A lone moose will step out of the dark woods completely independently, operating entirely on its own silent, isolated logic. So I wanted to know more. How long do they sleep? How do they sleep? And how do they make sure coyotes or other predators don't eat them? A moose can never afford to curl up and sleep soundly for 8 hours straight. If they did, they wouldn't survive the night. Instead, their sleep is a fragmented, tactical military operation. A moose sleeps for a total of only 2 to 5 hours per day, broken up into short 10 to 30-minute power naps scattered around the clock. Here is the scientific breakdown of how they sleep and the incredible bedside strategy they use to avoid predators. 1. The 2 modes of sleep. The semi-conscious doze, ruminating. Most of a moose's rest happens while they are sitting upright on their chest with their legs tucked underneath them. During these naps, their eyes might close, but their brain remains highly alert. They often use this time to chew their cud, re-chewing partially digested twigs. The deep REM sleep. To get actual deep restorative REM sleep, a moose has to lay flat on its side with its head flat on the ground. They only allow themselves to slip into this deep state for a few minutes at a time, because they are completely defenseless while flat on the ground. 2. The bed site selection rules. How they avoid predators. Before a moose sits down to nap, they use their sharp senses to engineer a perfectly secure bedroom. They follow 3 strict tactical rules. The back to the wind rule. A moose will always lie down with its back facing directly into the wind. They have a weak sense of sight, but an incredible sense of smell. By putting the wind at their back, any predator like a bear or coyote pack trying to sneak up from behind will carry their scent straight into the moose's nose. The forward-facing eyes. While the wind protects their rear, the moose points its head and eyes forward, staring out across the open area in front of them. This gives them a 360-degree security perimeter, smelling threats from behind and visually scanning for threats in front. The sound trap, the snap network. Moose deliberately bed down inside dense softwood thickets, blowdowns, or noisy dry brush. They choose locations where it is physically impossible for a predator to approach without stepping on a twig, dead branch, or crinkly leaf. The sharp snap of a branch acts as a natural biometric house alarm, instantly waking the moose from its power nap before the predator gets within striking distance. 3. The active sound scanners. Even when a moose is dozing, its ears never sleep. A moose can rotate its massive, cup-shaped ears independently, like radar dishes. While resting, their ears are constantly swiveling backward and forward, picking up the lowest frequency vibrations in the woods. If a coyote pack approaches a bedded adult moose on the Avalon, they face a massive problem. The alarm system usually wakes the moose well in advance. Once on its feet, a healthy adult moose is an absolute nightmare for coyotes. A single, well-placed kick from its front hooves can crack a coyote's skull instantly. Unless the moose is an uncoordinated newborn calf, a sick yearling, or severely weakened by winter starvation, predators will actively avoid a bedded moose because the tactical setup makes a stealth ambush nearly impossible. While I was buried deep in the research surrounding their unique biology and nutritional drives, my brain took an entirely unexpected detour. I stumbled onto a strange rumor and had to know if it was real, so I typed this into the terminal. I heard that moose milk is a commodity. Is this true? And AI laid out a reality that is honestly weirder than fiction. Yes, this is absolutely true, but it is one of the rarest, most expensive, and highly specialized agricultural commodities on the planet. You cannot commercially milk a wild moose. It requires a unique form of semi-domestication. Here's how the bizarre market for moose milk actually works. The only sources. There are only a few places in the world that successfully harvest it, most famously the Kostroma Moose Farm in Russia and the Elk House, Algens Hus, in Sweden. These are specialized research stations and eco-farms where moose roam free in the woods but return voluntarily to be milked. The extreme logging cost. A dairy cow is easy to manage, but a moose is a massive, highly sensitive wild animal. They will only allow a handler they completely trust to milk them. And if they feel even slightly stressed, their milk production completely shuts down. Furthermore, they can only be milked during a short window from June to August. The price tag. Because a single moose yields only about 1 to 5 liters of milk per day, compared to a dairy cow's 30 plus liters, the scarcity drives the price to astronomical levels. In Sweden, moose milk can sell for up to $1,000 per kilogram when processed into cheese. Why people buy it? It is incredibly rich, containing up to 12% fat and high levels of zinc, iron, and selenium. In Russia, it is used in specialized medical clinics to treat gastrointestinal diseases and radiation sickness. In Sweden, it is converted into a highly exclusive, luxury gourmet cheese served at Michelin star restaurants. The bottom line. It is a real commodity, but it requires human handlers to essentially live alongside wild giants, earning their total trust just to harvest a fluid that is practically worth its weight in gold. Driving these roads or hiking these trails, survival isn't just about pure luck. It's about understanding the machine you are operating and respecting the silent logic of the animal sharing the space. Next time you drive through the fog or step past the tree line, look a little closer. The wilderness is closer than we think. It's wild to look back at how this episode actually came together. This entire journey started with a simple, frantic, and highly practical question about emergency driving safety after my own near miss with a moose on the road. But because of how my mind handles a problem, it is physically impossible for me just to stop at a bumper modification or a simple roadside safety tip. My brain has this habit of chasing an idea down until there is nothing left to uncover, until there is no question left unanswered. Once you pull on that first thread, a routine highway hazard completely transforms into a massive, twisting rabbit hole. Before I knew it, a question about braking distance spiraled into a total obsession of understanding the entire machine of this creature. I couldn't rest until I pushed the data to look at the exact chemical balance triggering the salt lick drives, the evolutionary flaws causing headlight blindness, and the historical records of introduced populations. I had to find out how they protect their lives in the deep woods, mapping out the brilliant biometric defense networks of their fragmented sleep patterns, and tracking down where they go to sleep to escape intense summer heat stress. And yes, my brain even took a total unexpected turn into a rumor about moose milk. This is exactly why I built this space, and why I take you on these journeys with me. Because the world is full of hidden layers, and when you refuse to leave a single question unanswered, the most common things around us transform into absolutely fascinating looks at evolutionary design and evolutionary biology. There's always a deeper layer to find, and I'm never going to stop digging for it. If your mind works the exact same way, and you love watching these deep, unfiltered rabbit holes unfold, hit that subscribe button, drop your thoughts in the comments down below, and keep chasing the ideas. Let me know what hidden corner of the world we should dive into next. I'm Kate, and this is The Deep Well. Thanks for watching, safe driving out there, and I'll see you on the next one.